It's funny now in hindsight, especially today. But one of the items that I'd shared with you in an exclusive report 3 weeks ago about what the Steelers hope to do this offseason, one of those, high on the list, was a revamping of the wide receiver room. I had no idea what that meant. I mean, not at all. Good morning to you. Very good Monday morning. To everyone in this particular nation, I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. DK Metcalf is headed to Pittsburgh in the unlikely event that I am breaking this news your way. Sit down. It's real. It's actually happening. A second-round pick goes to the Seahawks. $150 million over 5 years goes to Metcalf. And there it is, kids, revamping the wide receiver room. Possibly with even more revamping within that room to come if you think about it. Because if you're signing Metcalf to that much money, you're not giving a second contract to George Pickens, although I've been saying all along they're not going to do that. And who knows how George will handle that. But one thing at a time. This guy is coming here now, and this guy can do it all. And this guy doesn't need a specific type of quarterback to make him go. As a result, this guy checks off the number one box, at least my number one box, for quite some time. I was going nuts, you might have noticed, hearing people talk about defensive line as being the number one need. Give me a break. I don't believe that even qualified as the number two need, given that you still need an outside corner and a slot corner. And it also helps to clean up the draft a little bit. Sure, it'd be nice to get another wide receiver at some point in the draft, but now you're not sitting there thinking you absolutely have to have one, as I was, in the first round or two. It's such a good get for the Steelers that I almost feel stupid talking about it. I almost feel like I'm insulting you by elaborating further on it. This is a really, really, really good day for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their faithful. That's as plainly as I can put it. The Steelers saw their guy, they went and got their guy, and they did it before anybody else even had a prayer of doing likewise. That, my friends, is a new day unto itself for this franchise. That is the strongest sign yet, I'll add, that somebody in there, most likely multiple somebodies, meaning not just Omar Khan, but also Mike Tomlin, Art Rooney, everybody, actually felt urgency to respond to the way the 2024 season collapsed. Think about that for a second, because it's not a small thing. And a lot of us, and I am no exception, have been robustly critical of all of these individuals for seemingly not reacting to it at all, other than saying things like, well, that was really tough. Yeah, that was unacceptable. That can't happen again, or whatever. You could say that. You can even muster a good indignant tone to go with it. It doesn't mean anything compared to this, compared to taking the action, taking the unprecedented action of pursuing a player of this caliber, of committing this much capital, of going against a lot of stuff, not just the money that's represented, the Steelers' way of doing business. In these 24 hours, that's all been blown to bits. But now, having said all that, here's the craziest part. They've got to do it all again, like today. You knew I was going to get to this, right? Because going out and getting some superstar, spectacular wide receiver doesn't mean a thing if there isn't anybody to throw him the ball. And as you and I are talking here this morning, they don't have anyone signed for this particular role. I don't mean Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. I mean anybody. And in all likelihood, based on the way the weekend seemed to go for Justin Fields and his representative David Mulugeta, they're determined to try out the market, to see what other teams have to say, to see what kind of opportunities are presented, and above all, of course, as always, how much money they're willing to commit. I'm not now, nor am I ever, going to suggest that Fields is the only option. He's never been that. He's never going to be that, regardless of the scenario in the days or even weeks to come. What he is, though, is the most viable option. He's the best option in this set of circumstances. And it wouldn't be quarterback Monday around here if, even on the day that Metcalf gets brought in, I wouldn't be talking about how Fields would be just a wonderful fit for all of this. You can start to see now with Metcalf being Arthur Smith's, A.J. Brown part 2. You can see, I don't want to compare Jaylen Warren to Derrick Henry. That's weird. But you have a running back. You have the multiple tight ends. You have the size. You have the want to as far as playing a power style. Get the quarterback. Get the most important part. Make it the ultimate quarterback Monday. When we come back, J1Q.
Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454.
Today's J1Q comes from Nate Hintzman, and when I picked this, I thought it was perfect for today's show because it encapsulates pretty much everything that happened in the last 48 hours into a single issue. Nate asks, DK, is there any world in which the Steelers don't extend TJ Watt at $40 million per year and instead package him in a mega deal for a franchise QB? And we all know the Steelers are loyal to a fault, but never say never. For anybody who missed this, amid all the other news that was going on, yesterday the Browns and Mr. I just want to go somewhere and win, Myles Garrett, found a way to stay together, which is perfect because they're perfect together on so many levels. And the way that they kept him, of course, was by just offering an obscene amount of money. Garrett's going to get that $40 million that you just referenced, Nate, and that in turn absolutely is going to have an impact on what TJ ultimately gets from the Steelers. But that's as far as I'm going to go with this. I'm not going to get into trading him or whether or not he would want this or that. Let me tell you something here. I heard from a couple of the Steelers players here last night via text. I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota, covering the Penguins. But, word got around here pretty quickly about DK Metcalf. TJ was not one of these players who reached out. But I can promise you that his reaction would have been no different. Not the tiniest bit. And if anything, I'm going to guess here that TJ's excitement about bringing a player of this caliber aboard would exceed that of pretty much anybody anywhere, inside or outside the Steelers. Because there's one thing that this extraordinary individual is more committed to than anything else, and that's winning with the Steelers. Yes, I will also roll my eyes when I hear lines like that from certain people. Not with him. He bleeds for these colors. Now, does that mean he's not going to want another contract? Does that mean that he didn't wish he already had one last year or whatever? Of course not. What it does mean is that now, even more than before, he can see a reality in which the Steelers are contending. And he will be as amenable as is required to get this done. Now, that doesn't mean, here again, to emphasize this, because he's not some dummy or whatever, he's not going to say, give me less money. But there are ways to structure these things in a team-friendly way. And if he looks at his defense, if he looks at himself, if he looks at Cam Hayward, and he says to himself, this has got to happen in the next couple of years, if we're being real here, then he's not going to be the type to ignore that sort of thing and just say, give me my money or I'm out of here. They'll figure something out. I would not worry about TJ. I just would not. Spend your day worrying about your quarterback instead. Or spend it enjoying the fact that your quarterback has somebody to throw to. Or heck, do both. Whatever. One way or another, we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow morning. And don't forget, we also have the Double Shot Show coming your way live at 4 p.m. Eastern on all platforms. Like any platform you can think of, that show is on it. Hope to see you then.